They can be noisy, they don't bring in a lot of money, and of course, they sting. So what's all the buzz about when it comes to beekeeping? And why would someone like Betty Dotson want to spend her retirement this way?
You have a little bit of extra time. Many retirees are still good and healthy. It's just something that maybe their grandparents did, their parents did, and they remember what it was like. Also, they're reading more about the importance they have in our society for food production.
Even though it's a sign of activity, the buzz of a beehive can also be peaceful to an outside observer. Dotson says some beekeepers are making their farms available to those seeking calm.
They're using their bees as places of meditation and healing, and the sound is amazing.
Dotson is especially excited that her bees are producing autumn olive honey, the clearest type of honey she's ever harvested. She sells some of her honey as a side business, but she considers herself a hobbyist and isn't in it for the money. Neither is Grover Holland, a beekeeper from North Carolina who moved to Dickinson County to be closer to his adult daughters.
I'm going to take everything that I make off of it and give it to feed the hungry.
Holland's father also raised bees. He began helping out at age 10 and has remained passionate about it.
I just love working with bees. Watch them work. I like to watch them and see what's going on with them. And I've learned a lot over the years. I can pretty much tell when they're out of a queen, even without going in.
Beekeeping can also be beneficial for retirees, especially if they're new to it. Raising bees fosters engagement and continuous learning. There are many bee clubs in local communities helping to provide social engagement with like-minded citizens. Individual hives are only a few feet tall, so retirees can keep only one or a few in their backyard. It's also been a popular endeavor for military veterans. Programs such as Hives for Heroes provide training and other resources for interested veterans. There's also the Honeybee Initiative for Veterans Empowerment and Support, or Hives, a pilot program run by the Department of Veterans Affairs Healthcare. It uses beekeeping as a way to manage the overall well-being of some veterans. While many of the beekeepers say they're not afraid of getting stung, not all bees are happy to have their hives opened up. Ron Stillwell has been involved in the Richmond Bee Club for years. His apiary in Henrico County has 4 hives, and he uses a smoker to distract the bee when he lifts the lid.
Bees communicate with pheromones, which are smells, scents. It's their primary means of communication. And when you smoke them, it masks that pheromone and they get confused. And they also realize it's smoke, and where there's smoke there may be fire, right? So they tend to go down into the box because they have to get ready to flee perhaps. They also fill themselves up with honey because they may have to flee. Sort of like if your house is on fire, you might be tempted to grab a few things. Well, they're doing the same thing, right? And when they're distracted like that, and when they fill up on honey, they tend to be less reactive.
By less reactive, he means less likely to sting you. Stillwell ran a homeless shelter, then earned a degree in theology and was introduced to beekeeping. He eventually became a hospital chaplain until retirement.
Here's one that's just packed with pollen. It's corbicula. It's the pollen sacs here on those back legs. Collects the pollen, and they bring it home and store it.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture notes that pollinators like honeybees are responsible for every 3 to 5 bites out of each meal we humans eat. As generous pollinators, they help fruits and vegetables reproduce and grow. They also spur growth in trees and wildflowers. That helps stabilize soil. And of course, trees consume carbon dioxide. There are many programs available for anyone wanting to get started in beekeeping. Virginia Cooperative Extension, the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and many private beekeeping clubs are always glad to help. In Henrico County, Virginia, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.